almost never use mics on stage. So my husband and I had some health issues, and then thanks to COVID, we just got to spend lovely days watching movies on Netflix and sleeping. And for a while you think that's a great life, but oh God, that is boring. But anyway, during some of these films, we would see all different eras of how we used to listen to music. We've had iPods, and we've had cassettes, and we've had 8-tracks, and we've had records. And some of these blend into each other. Oh, I left out all the CDs, which were one of my favorites. And when we watch these films, we can, especially when they're a recent film, if we saw a recent film and they're playing records, and we start laughing because the actor didn't do her work. She didn't get an oldie, or even someone who's like respectable age like myself, and ask them, how do you do the record thing? Because it was very complicated. Records were fairly delicate. They had these little grooves that the needle had to go in. So when you took the record out, because they didn't, they're very skinny, you slide them out carefully, you tip it over, and you have to catch it by the edges of the record. And then you very carefully set it on the turntable, which you've already turned on, and then you've got to get the needle on there. But before you do that, you have to take a dampened cloth, preferably something like with a nap, like my husband used to use velvet. Who uses velvet? A washcloth. So my family would use the washcloth, and very gently, as the turntable went around, the record would go under your cloth, and you could clean it. And you had to be gentle because you couldn't leave water on it because this is an electrical device, and God knows you'll blow up your house. So the next thing is you got to get the dust off your needle. So you have to lean down and take a good look at that needle. And sometimes you can get away with, but sometimes not. So different people had different techniques. Mine was to take the aforementioned washcloth that's slightly dampened, and very gently, you're lifting up the arm, and the needle's right here, very gently tap it to get that little wad of dust off it. Okay, now you're ready to go. Now maybe you don't want to hear every song on the record. Okay, so you have to look on the jacket and see what number, if you don't have it memorized already, where the song is that you want. So now I made this number 5. So between each song on the record, the songs are all these grooves that the needle's going to travel in. There's a little space that's smooth, so you count those bands, until you get to say number 5, and you carefully lift up the arm. It's resting on your fingers, and you set it down very gently so that it doesn't scratch the record into your groove. And then it goes around, and of course it's lovely, unless you've been scratching your record by not holding it by the edges and wiping off the dust and making sure there's no dust on the needle, because after a while, those pops and clicks will drive me insane. And I have loud noise sensitivity, so noise after a while, I can't take it. I will probably start to cry. And my mother had the same problem. She'd come storming out of the kitchen screaming, "Get that record off!" So there was that. Now my uncle was a physicist, and he loved making all these things, and he had all these clocks around his house, and he bought partly for beauty, partly because he liked their works. And our family would trade off holidays with that. So he had bought a house in the early 60s and decorated it appropriately for the era with these orange furniture. If you've seen old movies, you'll see what it looked like. But then, when I was a late teenager, he got into Byzantine. And this was the same time it was getting towards the CD revolution, but not yet. And he changed it all to all this church furniture. And he would only play basically Gregorian chants in the house. And he set up big speakers, which were the state of the art. state-of-the-art speakers. You can't get a better sound quality because he is into this. These speakers are this big and this wide, and he's got 4 of them, one for each corner of his living room. And then he has this other gadget, which I forget the name of it, but it shows the waves of the music. And then in addition to that, he had invented a device where you could lean down to look at your needle, but you actually looked into his device, which magnified the needle so you could see if there was dust on it. And then you could press some buttons, and he had made something that would clean the needle for you. So he kept the hands off of it. Because the problem was, if you handle your record flat, the oil from your hands, or if you hadn't washed your hands after eating or other functions, get into the grooves and mucks up the sound, and makes or more complain about. So he had this all set, and then he would play his Gloria jams, and he would amp up the volume so the house is shaking with his state-of-the-art amplifiers playing the stuff. And my cousin Jill, who's basically my age, was furious with this. She was furious he had changed from 60s hip furniture to Byzantine church furniture. And the old clocks were gone, and like it didn't want modern anymore. And he'd play this music, Byzantine music and Gregorian chant. And then there was the volume thing that really got her. So she was the only teenager in America irate with her parents for playing their music too loudly. Thank you.